Okay. I tried to divide up my presentation into 6 sections and really try to give you an insight into why I do things the way I do in case parts of it don't make sense. I want you all to know that I personally try to be very humble and experimental. I like to combine those two things. I think it takes confidence to be experimental, but I also am humble enough to recognize when something doesn't work. So if anything that I say doesn't really strike you as making sense, feel free to let me know or if you have a question. But I'll also try to explain the situation that I'm in and what I have experienced teaching mostly intro level courses and initially with JavaScript and then now most recently with Python. Um, so in general, I thought I'd give you an actual just a, kind of an insight because to me, differentiated assessments all go into how my instruction looks. Like, what am I differentiating from, or why am I differentiating, and how do I lead up to that assessment point in my classroom experience with the students. We do have block schedule at my school, which I love, and I know if you don't have block schedule, you probably love your schedule, and that's great. But I definitely am a block schedule fan. I have no control over that though, so you could just say I'm a kind of sycophant for the schedule that's placed upon me. But this is a general how I organize my agendas. This is admittedly from remote teaching when we were teaching remote. I don't know, let's all virtually raise our hands if you had to tighten up the way that you structured each class for visual readability. And if a student wasn't in session or if they're watching a recording like our session's being done now, they had to be able to follow it. And so this is what I've chosen. This isn't anything that I created. This is a template from a colleague who I'm sure they got it from the colleague and the internet and, but whatever. And generally, the structure would be the kind of do now is anything I might need to do opening up, and then the little bit of input. For instance, on this day, March 15th, I wanted to review custom string slicing using custom exercises that I had created on CodeHS. String slicing and the notation with the colons, it's a very challenging thing for new students to learn in my experience. So I wanted to continue practicing that outside or in addition to the CodeHS materials, and I could talk them through it and give them hands-on practice. This might have even been printed out and distributed on paper. And then generally each day, and as you can see on the homework, I try to help people stay roughly together, but I'm going to talk about that as a challenge. Oh, and a small little note there. If you notice the send me questions through chat.google.com, I can't speak to your each individual district situation, but one thing that I do like about chat.google.com when it comes to this subject area is it will maintain your coding indentation. So if you copy and paste code or a student copy and paste code to you, it'll maintain the indentation, which is really convenient for reading a student's code or for them reading code snippets that you send. So here's some important takeaways for each day. I do try to provide some sort of input or direct teaching. The dilemma of using a curriculum package such as what CodeHS or Code.org or any of the other competitors, Replit's another one that a colleague has been doing. I personally have stuck with CodeHS because I love the way it's laid out and my students like it the best as well. But I always find a dilemma of what is my role in the classroom? What am I doing other than individually helping students? So I try to provide a little balance with a little input each day. And I ensure that each student is working and completing lessons. So that's kind of me also saying, I'm nothing but a positive redirector. Like, oh, that's such an interesting YouTube video you're watching. Let's make sure that you are also coding, or that you maybe activate that tab a little more. If you have management software in your classroom, this might be easier. But for me, I just try to basically always be walking around the room, and that ties into the second point there. I also set a timer on my phone. I don't know if any of you are into that, but I'll set literally like a 3-minute timer in my pocket. And as I move around, I have to stop helping a student when it hits 3 minutes. So that way I make sure I get around to everybody. Okay. I tend to gravitate towards certain problems, in meaning that if a student's working on a certain thing, I love helping them with that. But like I got to help everybody. So it is an interesting dilemma. Thanks. Yeah, timer. It's just great. And then revisit important concepts each class. Sometimes I feel like a broken record. I mean, I can't tell if I can see the interactions, but I feel like teaching return values in functions is one of the hardest things to teach because it's hard to explain why you would do it. Like what it does to the function. And so, for instance, in the first month or two of the class, I literally just mention and repeat in different ways the idea of what a return value is and why you would use it. Why would you return a string rather than just print a string in a function? That type of stuff. What I try not to do is what I'm doing right now, which is talking too much. But literally, that is a personal problem of mine. And so I try to keep that input at the beginning of class to a minimum. I try not to allow students to stay stuck for too long, but they got to get stuck. I love solving problems, and solving problems is what makes everything fun. And I got to admit, computer science is probably something I love to do the most and teach the most because it is the most direct problem solving. Um, it's amazing. So, and then I try not to reward or recognize progress over understanding. So it's like if somebody's in unit 9, second month, I'm not like, oh, look at them, they're in unit 9. I want to value the person who's still in unit 2, diving in to understanding, like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of I'm blanking on an exercise, but I always feel like unit 2, which would be the like first Tracy the Turtle unit with 20 lessons. That's like one of the hardest units in the whole course. And so that's always one where I'm like, look, if they're going slower, but they're progressing and learning at a commiserate rate that's manageable, then I'm happy with that. So I try not to just reward progress. So the challenge of grading, this is perhaps a little more specific to my school, but maybe some of you teach at a school like this as well. So a couple terms. I did animate this slide. I feel like I had to, mostly because I wanted us to focus on one thing at a time. Perhaps a controversial topic for some of you. Um, Formative assessments are worth nothing in the gradebook school-wide. Yay, yay. Homework, classwork, they have no weight. So luckily for me in this class, it was already something that I kind of had my gradebook doing. And so because of that, summative assignments are the entire grade. I used to do CodeHS work, 30%. Summative tasks that I designed that I'll be talking to you about today were 70%. I've had to switch it where custom summative performance tasks are 70%, and then conceptual summative tasks are the 30%. So you could argue from a teacher point of view, you're just labeling things differently and inputting things or categorizing them differently in your grade book, but the students know the system, and you have to make sure that everything you do is tied to an assessment. Otherwise, they won't do it, at least at my school. And so it's more about the learning. It's got to be about the learning. The other thing is I do preload the entire semester into the gradebook. That's another one. I got this from a colleague, and I preload the entire semester into the gradebook with rough deadlines of when I'll put a score in, where I'll go into that content area where I will officially go back and review. Typically, I'll look at students' codes. Like I know where every one of my computer science students is at learning-wise and progression-wise better than any other class, hands down. You give me a student name and I'll say, oh, they're on this lesson as of last class. Or they struggle with this concept because I constantly have to help them with this in their code. And so I mostly put things into the gradebook as like for everybody else outside of the classroom. And I preload the entire semester. I have a screenshot of what that'll look like. We use Aries gradebook. We used to use Schoology. I'm sure some of you use Canvas. There's like a million different LMSs, but whatever. And this approach allows me to be flexible and understanding, but up front when a grade may drop. So if somebody's behind, if their pacing is low, if they're distracted in class a little bit too often, they know when their grade will be affected. And then CodeHS versus custom. For me, I do all CodeHS work is formative, and then all custom work is summative, meaning for the gradebook. And the reason why I do that is I try not to make the quizzes on CodeHS be stressful. I try not to make the nuances of the auto checker not liking certain responses and me knowing I can help students get that green check mark to show up on certain exercises. And so instead I let them focus a lot of their stress and energy on the custom assignments and let the learning go on in the CodeHS formative work. I don't know how many of you um, um, have a similar structure, but I just try to let CodeHS be a place of learning and lower stress, and I'll be the one responsible for giving them more like meaty tasks, so to speak. Let me see here. Great. Yeah, if there's a question, just let me know. Feel free. Any of the panelists can interject if I get caught up on a point. So this is how I would front load the entire semester into the gradebook. I apologize if this is small in your screen, but I tried to make it as large as I could. If you notice here, let me see if I can turn on my pointer. There should be a pointer, right? No remote control. Maybe that's in my slides.
Goofy. You're in the webinar room yet, so the controls might be a little off.
No worries, no worries. It's all good. So basically, summatives are highlighted orange. Those are the performance tasks. Kind of the off blue. I do need to change that color. The off blue is our conceptual summatives, and then the due date and the sequence. So yeah, like it's something that helps. Blue fully means that I have inputted scores, and then gray means that I haven't yet. So I actually do need to input 3 more, all relating to Unit 7 right now. So that needs to go into the gradebook. 30, does this mean understanding is constantly indexing? Yes, Jennifer, I would say that what I do is I create Google Forms that are kind of objective assessments, multiple choice, not my preferred style of assessment, but I wanted a way for students to do a kind of self check-in and review some of the conceptual higher level concepts, like like a higher level view, not that they're more difficult. And it was an adjustment for this year because I didn't want the performance tasks to be the only part of the grade. And sometimes in my UCR coursework, we would actually have multiple choice like assessments where it would be like, given this line of code, what would be the output? That type of thing. And so I have links to 4 conceptual assessments. The actual Google Forms themselves, the links will force you to make a copy for yourself. And of course, you could change, build, or adapt however you want. But thank you for your question, Jennifer. I hope that answered it. So the pacing challenge. Oh my gosh. Again, a virtual raise of the hand, please. I don't want to close off units. That's not really me. I don't want to say, nope, unit 4 is not opened until October. And so I can have students go, wow, way fast, like get to unit 8, and then the other students going slower. So I try to keep everybody in some sort of proximity to one another. It's one of the hardest things of teaching this content area, I think, because everybody's brain gravitates toward things a little differently. And so, for instance, I'll put ranges. Lesson 6.1 to 6.3, you're still a little behind. Lesson 6.4 to 6.5, that's perfect. You're right where I'd want you to be progressing. Stick with that. Every day, every week, it's on my whiteboard. I have very sloppy handwriting, so generally I do like to type things, but I will write this by hand. That's how important I think it is. I'm going to make them struggle to read it. And then lesson 7.1 and beyond, and you're ahead. And I'll tell you why I do this. Tell you why I do this. Let's say a student's like, hey, Mr. Reed, I got a big essay due next block. Got a big test in chemistry. I'll be like, cool, where you at? Oh, you're in unit 8? Oh, love it. Love it. You do whatever you want. I mean, of course they're doing other classwork. I'm not literally telling them watch Netflix. But what I am saying is if you're ahead and something else is pressing, do it. You have earned that extra buffer. If you're a little behind though, I'm going to be like, not trying to be mean here, but you're just going to fall more behind. And you need to make sure that you're either coding at home or you don't do that other classwork right now. That's why you want to get ahead. I'm not trying to be, bitter, but it's a way for me to have an understanding with my students where they understand what time management and kind of like self-driven learning can can impact other areas of your life, I guess. So this is just a strategy that I adopted recently. So this is the reason why. I mean, some students will like really struggle with for loops or while loops, but they'll absolutely dominate tuples or lists, and it's just like doesn't make sense. Why do you understand that differently and find the other stuff so difficult? Why is one easier than another for you to grasp? Teaching symbolic logic in my philosophy classes with modus ponens, modus tollens, disjunctive syllogism, all the way down to rules of equivalence. I see this all the time. I have to be very aware that just for some reason, students will get things quicker than others. And that's why I've had to differentiate assessments so much in this class. And yeah, it's just this people learn at different rates more in this subject than I ever encountered in my English classes. You know, uh, I just felt like people were generally more together based on their transcripts and how they're kind of being funneled into either AP honors, college prep, whatever your school labels those courses as. So here it is. Here it is, everybody. It's taken me 20 minutes to get here. Okay, I'm sorry about that, but I'd say it's a nice medium, middle of the road approach here in terms of the timing. Custom differentiated assessments. I felt like pretty early on when I first started teaching the course, I had to offer students different ways to demonstrate their understanding. Because at the end of the day, just because someone's learning something at a little different rate than their neighbor over here, I don't want to give them a D or an F. Like they're still learning, they just don't have maybe as strong or as confident of a grasp. So I thought, well, let them have a little element of choice. So for every performance task, except for you'll see, I do need to work on Unit 7 a little bit. I finished Unit 8, but I'm still trying to figure out what I did to get the playlist links. I might have to finish that after the session, but I promise it'll be updated by the end of the day. Well, really before the afternoon. But I allow students to self-select from 3 different levels. I try to call them approaching, meeting, or exceeding, kind of reflecting that standards language, trying to be positive. And I'm 100% upfront with them about the complexity. So I'll generally tell them which one is the kind of accessible option, which one is the right where I would like you to be ideally option, and then which one is the reach, the n+1, n+3, going real far beyond it. And then they can try more than one task and level down if it's too difficult for them. That term level down is kind of a gamification term. There were a couple years there, beginning-ish of my career, where I gamified my entire classroom and started the students at a 0% and then leveled them up with everything they did. And that was cool, but a challenge. And so anyways, that level down, there's no penalty. Try the hardest, do it. And if you get stuck, walk it back. Okay, walk it back. I describe what I just said right here. I describe what I just said right here more for if you show this to anyone else, or if you want to look at this again, that's what I just explained. So this is how it might look right here. There's a little screenshot from CodeHS. Everybody gets to probably recognize this familiar format. And this is for the Unit 3 and 4 summative. I combine units sometimes when I feel like they are, I don't know. I find that the tasks would be more interesting if I used both of them. Do you know what I mean? If I used content from both units. My Unit 8 and 9 summative assessment that I was just finishing before this session, I do have to admit that I did not notice the central time. And so that's one of the reasons why my session is not fully updated with my new Unit 8 and 9 summative tasks, but that is the truth. They are done, but I haven't linked them, so I do need to do that. But anyway, so I have the true age, tip calculator, and blackjack. That is the order that I did. And it is in order of difficulty, in my opinion. Okay. Now I'm going to show you a lot of text on these next slides, but there is a link to these exercises within the CodeHS playlist. So you don't have to like take pictures or copy them or whatever. They'll be there and already in the CodeHS format for you. So this is the true age directions. I basically, to summarize, I want students to ask the user for their age and how long it's been since their birthday. So how many months old, how many years old, and then break it down to how many weeks old they are, how many days old they are, how many hours, how many minutes, how many seconds, and we have some fun with it. So it's pretty simple arithmetic, but it does, in my opinion, help them display their knowledge of some of the things that we learn about with, variables, strings, um, presenting information. Like when I was teaching JavaScript, we would do a little bit more graphics, a little bit more objects. Um, but with this one, it's more just getting it on the canvas. And students do generally find success with this, but it's still hard for them. You know, if they choose this, students that choose this will typically find it challenging. And I do like this one. I do like this one. I wouldn't really change anything about it personally. The next one would be the tip calculator. I used to be a server, work in fine dining as well. And so to me, a tip calculator is helpful for people who maybe did not grow up going to restaurants. And I describe four different categories or four different criterion. How would you rate your experience? How much was your bill? Provide them with a suggested tip amount based on their experience. So they have to kind of tie what they put into the experience to a percentage of what the tip would be. So I let them know it could be 1 to 5, 1 to 10, whatever. And then they decide how much the best experience would be or how much the lowest experience would be. I still have trouble not tipping, even if everything goes wrong. I'll be like 10%. And then, of course, if everything's fine, it's 20% usually. And if everything's great, I might go up to 30, but that's just me, because I used to be a server. So the students get to decide. And it's a great exercise. I do like it. It's fun. They even make it look like a receipt sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's why. That's why you picked this one. Blackjack is super fun because they have to come up with a function to deal cards, and then I've had students write 500 lines of code for this, and I'm like, oh, good luck debugging that, man. Come on. Remember, we don't want to have to write redundant code, and this has a lot of description, but it's really fun. And Blackjack is manageable. I do have students every year pick this one, but it's a tough one for them. It really is. And it's so much fun because we have the best conversations. Um, the best conversations. So this is a link to my current custom assessment links. They are playlists, and I apologize. I will fix the link for Unit 8 and 9 summative. I just need to add them to a playlist. And so feel free to use these, adapt these, and whatnot. If some brave soul out there wouldn't mind clicking on one of these and letting me know if they work or not, that would just be helpful. Typically, hey, Kim, thank you. So now, Lori, Evelyn, I recognize Evelyn. Evelyn used to be my account manager when I was at my other school. So Evelyn, I've known during this time. I used playlists when Evelyn was one of my account managers, and basically a playlist was a way that you would be able to share exercises and upload custom assessments. I feel like it might be becoming a more legacy item within the CodeHS resources toolbox, but I always feel like it was a way initially I would have to create a playlist to then assign a custom assessment to my students. The manipulatability of the courses and the modules that are listed were not always that way, like the way they are now. Like I can create things right there. But in the past, I used to have to create playlists first. And with a playlist, I can share this to someone who is like outside of my CodeHS classroom. So I hope that helps. Uh, oh, yeah. Lori, yeah, perfect, Kim. Lori, that's a great question. So going back to the different assessments, if they completed the task to the level that I needed them to create it, they would earn they would both earn the same points. Um, the reason why I do that, Paula, is it is true that the students are learning or have a different like command of the content because of the different difficulty levels. But I try to recognize that for their learning and their progress, that is an A for them. It's kind of more of a concept that I've heard taught and spoken about in special ed contexts, but I don't feel like I'm modifying my expectations. What I do feel like is one person is displaying a more complex, nuanced understanding of what a string is or what a variable is, and another person is displaying, a lower or higher level of that. So it's like, do they know what that is? Yes. Can they apply it in the same way? No. I will admit that 100%, but I do assign them. Yes, yes, Carol, they can. I don't have any of my curriculum blocked unless I haven't created it yet. Be honest with you. If I haven't created it yet, then it's blocked. Yeah, thank you. The conceptual assessments are new because of my new grading guidelines for the school. And to be honest, they can retake them as many times as they want. Paula, I would say this is the closest to paper tests. This is the closest to paper tests. I write these assignments myself. I'll talk about AI at the end of class because Paula, I don't know about you, but I feel like your question is segueing to AI. I got you. I'm with you on that one. So these are the links to the Google Forms. When you click on the link, it should force you to make your own copy. Paula, quick comment. That's why I do custom assessments, is because I know that they can find resources for CodeHS exercises online. And with the advent of AI today, they could find solutions or get answers to almost anything anyways. So it's just something that I try to work with. And that's why I meet with my students every day. Generally, if I see someone progressing at a rate that is unrealistic or not displayed in their custom assessments, I say, look, I know what's going on. I want you to know that's not what I want. I don't want you to just finish. I want you to learn, and you're going to have to demonstrate it and do custom assessments. You know what I mean? Yes, I do, Michael. I have been recently using AI to help me come up with different ideas to choose from, basically as a brainstorming idea generating tool. But I do come up with these, and yeah, so yeah, feel free right here. Um, the link comes up with request access. Interesting. Um, okay, that's unfortunate. Um, can you? Me too. Oh, I gotcha. I'll double check the links. Lori, do you mind clicking on it as well, just to see if it says request access, or does it force you to make a copy? My hope is that it forces you to make a copy. Okay, Kim. I'll go into all of these. I could try to do it right now. We'll see how skillful my multitasking could be while not derailing my presentation. So the units conceptual summatives. Okay. So the one thing. Oh, hey Toby. I'm busy right now, bud. Do you mind having Grandma help you with that? Thank you. Good luck in your tournament. Sorry, martial arts tournament coming up this morning. Um, so what I wanted to finish with, and I'm gonna check those links right now. What I wanted to finish with was, I mean, just the incredible movement that is happening with AI technology. Like I had someone tell me about a month and a half ago about GitHub Copilot, and I had never used it, and I didn't really know what it was. And now it's like, yeah, there's not just GitHub Copilot. There is, Amazon's Code Whisperer. There's just general Chat GPT. There's all kinds of things. And I want to talk about how I've used that and how I'm planning on addressing it with my students. Can I get a guinea pig, please, to test the first semester conceptual summative link? Does it say copy now? First semester conceptual summative link. I promise you I tested these in Edge. Thank you. Okay, then I'll do that fix for all of them. I apologize. I presented at conferences in person before, mostly related to Google Apps. So I apologize for not having my ducks in a row. I thought I did, but I'm fixing the other ones right now. I'm on Unit 7, Conceptual Summative currently. And if you want to test any of them, they should all be working. Um, feel free if anyone could just confirm my final one, Unit 7, custom summative, or I'm sorry, conceptual summative assessment.
It
That
all
link.
looks good to me, Jake.
Great,
Now.
great, great. Yeah, sorry about that, y'all. It's a great feature to force a copy with a Google form because you don't want other people's responses to go in your form. It's just kind of a, yeah, perfect. Um, Great. Kim, this class is for my Intro to Computer Science using Python course. I use the CodeHS Python 3 course. Yeah, CodeHS Python 3. All right, cool. I got 7 minutes. Is that right, everybody? 7 minutes? Perfect. So AI prompts that I have used. AI prompts that I have used. I mean, my friend, like I can't tell you, like it is something that I've mostly been thinking about almost exclusively is how AI has helped me in my own coding, my own development for ed tech purposes, helping colleagues. For my instruction, these are some prompts that I've used. Um, the best thing that I can tell you, if you know, I know that Zach, I believe, was doing a session on AI and probably talking about CodeHS's plans for incorporating AI into their editor or platform. That would be my guess. I don't know that though. Evelyn can give me a nod, yes or no. Um, and the idea would be that this is the new world we live in. Technology can be slowed, but that's almost impossible. And I think that what's really interesting is the way this is disrupting white collar industries, finance, coding, etc. Um, I have been able to discover some limits in my own development. I pursued a debugging issue in a Google Apps script for 4 hours because the AI kept telling me it was a permissions issue based on the error. But in the end, it was not a permissions issue. And I just had to basically step away from the AI to question what else could be wrong without any input from it. And that's really the only time I've ever really felt like I've encountered a delusional AI. But I have heard that as the task gets more complex, it will struggle more. But again, with GitHub Copilot, Copilot X, Amazon Web Services, Code Whisperer, like wow. I mean, it's going to be really intense moving forward. Beyond these prompts, feel free to look at them in the future. I feel like faster learning is something that I'm going to be incorporating into my classroom. Um, oh yeah, the link. We could do the link again. I'm gonna have the QR code coming up again. I'm with you. In physical conferences, I'm always like, I missed the link at the beginning. I need that QR code again. So I am gonna project it and it could be pasted again in the chat. But I feel like I am learning at a faster rate than I ever have before. 2 months ago, I didn't really know how to write in Google Apps scripts, and now I've written like really complex stuff, in my opinion, from my experience, and I'm undoubtedly more successful at a much faster rate. Googling, I don't even use the search engine anymore. Anyone with me on that one? I either type in an address or I go to AI. Like, I mean, it could be a flaw. I'm not saying you have to do it, but my behavior has changed. So AI embedded into editors, GitHub Copilot student verification is a Jurassic process. I cannot believe how difficult it is to get student or teacher verification with GitHub. I am a little bitter, as you can tell. The tone of my voice should communicate that. So it's frustrating, but that is a cool option. You can get it for free. Code Whisper just came out like 2 days ago. So, like that's free too, but I didn't even know about it, until recently. We have to teach ethical use. I'm trying to teach ethical use. I think I'm going to make my performance tasks harder if my students are going to be using AI. Straight up. I'm just going to make everything harder. And if that sounds mean, I agree. I haven't done it yet. but I think that's my idea. I'm just going to make everything more in depth, more complex, where if you were to use an AI, it would help you, but it wouldn't do all the work for you because the task is too complex and multifaceted. With that said, though, with that said, I haven't really found too many things that the AI doesn't do very well. You just have to break down your prompts and be very specific. And look, this is the last one. I want to leave a couple minutes here, but I think it is going to make it harder to sell our profession. Junior developers, software engineering, I don't know, man. It's not as easy of a profession to sell. I don't think I can say get a computer science degree and you will have a job when you graduate anymore. That's my kind of not doomsday takeaway, but it's like you're going to have to be a person that uses AI better than the next person. Do you know what I mean? And you're going to have to be really, really invested in learning and being innovative and being able to compete with and exceed what a basic unpaid laborer can do. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I've been answering questions as people have been saying them. If I missed one, please let me know. There's my QR code again, along with my email address. Um, yeah, well said, Carol. And I encourage students to use it as APCSA. I'm about to start teaching that course next year. Welcome to the club. It's going to be great. I am happy to join. They are ported into Eclipse and are accessing databases and APIs and text messaging. Yeah, APIs are amazing. I have API access for GPT-4, and I'm currently developing an ed tech tool for just my staff locally where we can ingest Google Classroom assignment folders, get the text, submit it to GPT-4 with our prompt and directions and AI role, and then paste the AI response at the bottom of the document. It's cool. We're still trying to figure out what we want to do with it. You know what I mean? But yeah, APIs are amazing, and uh, feel free to type in any other questions. Thank you, Matthew, and please don't forget, everybody, my shared curriculum should all be working. But look, if you don't think it's that good, make it better. And I'm very humble with it. I am I'm not a professional coder. I never worked in software engineering. I'm very humble, but I am passionate about the subject, and I think it's an excellent opportunity for our students to learn how to do this in high school and not wait till college. The thing with applying for coding jobs can be a coding task. You won't have a yeah, wonderful, wonderful, Mrs. Chapdelaine, 100%. 100%. And that is maybe a way that we start to assess students as well, or oral assessments. Given the following function, along with these parameters, what would the output be? you know? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no problem. I don't want to keep y'all too late. Thank you for attending my session. How many people stuck around? How many people are here? Yes, we grew by 3. We
Jake,
grew by 3.
even you had a lot of people here, so
Boom. We grew by 3. Thank you so much. I'll answer my email. Send it over. People aren't using Twitter as much anymore, so I gave you my email. I don't use Twitter that much anymore either, but that was just for a long time. So thanks, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of the conference. Take
Jake,
care.
this was amazing. This was an amazing session to kick off the virtual conference. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm certain I missed a couple messages, so I'll go back and look at those because I was very into what you were telling us. So this was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with all of us today. That was amazing. So thank you. So yeah, we'll be talking more, but that was wonderful. And thank you all for attending the first session. So we've got a lot more coming up today. The day is not over. I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I'm going to share my screen with what we have coming up next. So we have another really packed session coming up for session 2, and it's going to start at noon. So you've got a little bit of a break right now, to go grab some more coffee, grab a snack, and come back to get in front of your computer for session 2, where you are going to have a lot of really great options. So happening right here on the main stage in the main room is Turbocharge CS with instructional coaching with Margaret Harris-Schultz. And we also have Kent Pendleton, a CodeHS teacher trainer, who's presenting in room 2, a ransom note from AI and JavaScript. And in room 3, we have Tammy Foley, a fellow South Dakotan, the effects of CS on low-income and minority students. And in room 4, we have our very own Portia Morel, who will be presenting on fun with K2 elementary CodeHS. So you can view this and all of the links at codehs.com/TC. So make sure you take a look at those. We will leave the main room open, so you can certainly stay put here until you decide if you want to stay here or head to a different session. Just as a reminder, all of our sessions are being recorded, and we will send out all of these recordings and resources, all of Jake's amazing resources, which I just want to go and play with. So we'll send all of those out in a follow-up next week. So we will see you all back at noon. See you in a bit, everybody.